The atmosphere in Manchester is never silent, especially when it comes to the club that has become accustomed to turning each season into a spectacle of triumphs and controversies. Manchester City, even after having conquered the treble and strung together 4 consecutive Premier League titles, continues to be pressured almost relentlessly. And what is most curious is that their biggest headache comes precisely from an opponent who insists on being a thorn in their side, Tottenham Hotspur. The most recent clash between the two reignited internal debates, brought unexpected weaknesses to the surface, and, as could only be expected, set the board in motion behind the scenes to reinforce Pep Guardiola's team. The defeat to Spurs was described as frustrating, but not only because of the numbers. What stood out was the way City found themselves swallowed up by a pragmatic yet effective game plan. Thomas Frank, the new commander of the London side, knew how to exploit every flaw in the sky blue team, relying on lethal counterattacks and capitalizing on individual mistakes that proved costly. Guardiola, known for being demanding even with the smallest of details, left the pitch visibly discontented. His analysis was candid, perhaps even harsh. The team had failed in the basics. It was not a matter of complex tactics, but of losing control in simple situations, of wasting fundamental skills under pressure. A painful lesson for a squad usually celebrated as one of the most disciplined in Europe. The moment that became the symbol of the match was James Trafford's mistake, the young English goalkeeper who was standing in for Ederson. In a build-up play inside the box, he lost possession, allowing João Palhinha to score the goal that sealed the opponent's victory. For supporters, it was like déjà vu, a reminder of the errors John Stones used to commit when he was still seeking stability in the early stages of his career at the club. The difference this time is that the mistake came from a player still trying to prove he can be the next great piece in Guardiola's project. The shock was great, but the board wasted no time in acting. According to Fabrizio Romano, talks have already begun to bring Gianluigi Donnarumma in as an immediate solution. The Italian goalkeeper, an early idol with vast experience despite his young age, is said to have already agreed personal terms with City. His salary is expected to be around $11 million per season, making him one of the highest-paid players in the squad. Paris Saint-Germain, in turn, seem inclined to negotiate even though they initially asked for $43 million. The final fee is likely to be lower, especially since Donnarumma has made it clear he does not wish to remain in Paris. The sticking point in the deal is the future of Ederson, who may accept Galatasaray's offer. It would be a dramatic chapter, replacing one of the best goalkeepers in recent Premier League history with another of global reputation. If confirmed, the move would highlight how much City value security and stability in key positions, particularly in moments when individual mistakes start costing points. While the board worked behind the scenes, Jack Grealish's name returned to the headlines, but this time away from the Etihad. Loaned to Everton, the English attacking midfielder gave an immediate response to the criticism of his quiet debut. In the match against Brighton, he was not only actively involved, but decisive. He produced 2 eye-catching assists. First, a pinpoint cross for Beto Ndiaye to score at the back post, and then a perfectly weighted ball for James Garner to finish clinically. More than the assists, what impressed was Grealish's work rate and collective involvement. His numbers in the match were striking. He created 3 clear chances, completed 24 passes into the final third, touched the ball 5 times inside the opposition's box, won 7 duels, regained possession multiple times, and also made 3 tackles. Statistically, it was one of the most complete performances he has delivered on English soil. The fans' reaction, however, was divided. Some celebrated the player's resurgence, claiming he seemed to have rediscovered the confidence and prominence he once displayed at Aston Villa. For others, it was merely a flash, insufficient to guarantee him a place in Guardiola's star-studded squad. The debate grew even more heated because of the buy clause. If Everton choose to trigger it, they will have to pay $50 million. For part of the supporters, it would be a great financial deal, easing the books and allowing investment in reinforcements. For others, it would mean letting go of a player who, in good form, could still offer plenty to City's project. The dilemma is not only technical but also emotional, as Grealish has become both a charismatic and divisive figure among the fan base. If Grealish's future raises doubts, Savinho's sparks fierce disputes. The 21-year-old Brazilian is seen by Tottenham as the piece that could elevate the team's attacking level. The London club have spared no effort. They have already offered $69 million, had the bid rejected but came back with another. Chairman Daniel Levy even met personally with City's board at the Etihad to demonstrate seriousness in the negotiations. For Spurs, Savinho is more than a gamble. He is a future star, someone capable of taking the team to a new level. From the player's side, there is encouragement, too. He looks favorably on the chance to play more regularly and, in doing so, increase his prospects of being called up for the 2026 World Cup. City, on the other hand, do not intend to let him go easily. The asking price is $76 million. If Tottenham agree to pay, Savinho will become the most expensive signing in the club's history, surpassing Dominic Solanke's $55 million record. It would be a historic milestone and, at the same time, a statement that Spurs are ready to break barriers to compete on equal terms with the Giants. This move ties into a broader reflection: how far City are willing to balance business and sporting planning. Selling Savinho for a record fee could bring financial relief and open space for academy talents, but it would also mean handing over a promising player to a direct league rival. The history between the two clubs already has examples of players who wore both shirts, such as Kyle Walker, Joe Hart, and Emmanuel Adebayor. A potential Savinho transfer would add to this list, but in a context of far greater impact. In this scenario of change, the Academy's voice is also beginning to echo more strongly. Rico Lewis revealed something that excited supporters. Phil Foden's dream is to see a Manchester City side formed mainly by homegrown players, all under Guardiola's command. This idea, which might have sounded utopian a few years ago, now seems attainable. The City Academy has already produced big names such as Foden himself, as well as Lewis, James Trafford, Oscar Bob, and Nico O'Reilly, with veterans uncertain about their futures and opportunities naturally emerging. The path opens for a generation that could take center stage. Lewis even turned down offers from respected clubs such as Nottingham Forest, Bayer Leverkusen, and even Bayern Munich, choosing instead to renew his contract to keep developing under Pep. His statement after the match against Wolves was clear. "Foden told us he can't wait for the day when we all start together. That's the dream." This phrase sums up not just the desire of a single player, but the vision of a project that, while seeking international stars, does not abandon its local identity. What is taking shape, therefore, is a city in transition. Between negotiating big names, managing young talents, and dealing with the immediate pressure of results, the club finds itself at a crossroads. Guardiola, as always, is the maestro of this complex orchestra. He must ensure that the mistakes against Tottenham are corrected, that the atmosphere is not poisoned by uncertainty, and that the board's decisions support a competitive future. The arrival of Donnarumma, the Grealish dilemma, the Savinho saga, and Foden's dream are all pieces of the same chessboard, and the supporters, watchful and demanding, continue to call not only for victories, but for the assurance that the project will remain strong for many years to come. City's fans, accustomed to seeing the team always at the top, are beginning to realize that this season's challenges are not only on the pitch but also behind the scenes. Trafford's error, the uncertainty over Ederson, the possible arrival of Donnarumma, and the debates around Savinho and Grealish form a whirlwind of decisions that could completely reshape the squad. Guardiola knows that at a club like City, every detail matters. He cannot afford to wait for problems to solve themselves. Precision is required, and that means making decisions that do not always please everyone. After all, while some supporters dream of Donnarumma, others wonder whether replacing Ederson, a goalkeeper already established in the Premier League, with a new name, however big, might be riskier than it should be. That sense of uncertainty grows when looking at the attack. Savinho is seen as a talent on the rise, and losing him now, even for record figures, could mean letting go of a player who fits perfectly into Guardiola's modern profile. Speed, improvisation, intensity, and willingness to work collectively. The Brazilian, who has already shown maturity well beyond his years, has everything to become an attacking reference, but his desire for regular minutes weighs heavily. At Tottenham, the promise of being a key figure is seductive, especially with the World Cup approaching. For Spurs, investing heavily in Savinho is also a clear message to European football. They are willing to spend like giants to change their destiny. For City, the question is whether it is worth strengthening a direct rival and losing a gem who could shine even brighter under Guardiola's guidance. Meanwhile, Jack Grealish has become a kind of mirror of the club's contradictions. On loan, yet still tied to City, he shows that he can make the difference in a team that offers him prominence. At Everton, he finds space to play more freely, to express himself, to be decisive without the constant pressure of having to justify a multi-million-pound investment every week. The dilemma is inevitable. Is the player more useful to City on the pitch or as a financial asset? A $50 million sale would be positive for the club's accounts, but would also mean giving up a footballer who, in certain contexts, can provide solutions that few in the squad are capable of offering. The comparison between his style at Aston Villa, Everton, and City shows that Grealish reinvents himself according to the environment. Perhaps that is the key to the discussion. Does he work better as a protagonist or as a supporting actor in a star-studded cast? These discussions, which appear separate, eventually converge at the heart of the project. City is not just a club that buys and sells players. It is a complex organism seeking balance between immediate triumphs and structural continuity. And this is where Foden's dream comes in. The idea of a team formed largely by academy players is not merely a romantic notion. For Guardiola, it could be the foundation of a new era. Having youngsters such as Rico Lewis, Trafford, Bob, and O'Reilly forming a homegrown core, led by Foden, means more than just savings. It is the chance to forge an even stronger identity, something that transcends Guardiola himself and carries on into the future. That dream, however, will only hold if the club can balance the departures of talents with the arrival of precise reinforcements. It is a chess game in which every move must be calculated with meticulous precision. On this chessboard, Donnarumma emerges as a strategic move. His arrival would not only be about correcting Trafford's mistake, but also about sending a message that City does not falter in critical moments. At the same time, the possibility of selling Savinho could be seen as a different kind of message, that the club knows when to turn talent into profit and pursue other avenues. But to what extent do these sorts of decisions sit well with the fans? Many do not want to see Savinho shining in London, least of all in matches against City itself. It is a dilemma that lays bare the eternal contradiction between sporting management and terrace emotion. The stands, in fact, become the thermometer of it all. City has transformed into a global powerhouse, but with that has also inherited the burden of almost impossible expectations. Each defeat, like the one suffered against Tottenham, generates an echo louder than it might deserve. The demand is not just to win, but to win with style, dominating, crushing opponents. Guardiola, in his statements, makes it clear that he does not ask for the extraordinary, only for the basics done well. But what happens when not even the basics work? It is in that space that rumors, speculation, and pressure for multi-million-pound signings emerge, as though strengthening the squad were the automatic solution to any flaw. The reality, however, is more complex. City has a long-term project, but is constantly being judged by the present. In the midst of this whirlwind, some supporters prefer to dream of a team built on academy talent. The image of Foden leading a starting 11 full of homegrown players is inspiring. It would represent not only the victory of a sporting project, but also the triumph of a model that combines success with identity. But to what extent would Guardiola, known for his relentless pursuit of perfection, be willing to risk immediate results to give this generation its chance? The answer may come in the next few seasons, in how the club manages departures such as Ederson's, potential sales like Savinho's, and reintegrations like Grealish's. The future seems open, and every decision will carry historical weight. This crossroads makes it clear that Manchester City is living through a decisive moment. The defeat to Tottenham may just be an isolated stumble, but it may also symbolize the need for deeper adjustments. Donnarumma could be the solution for the goal, but his arrival reopens the wound of a possible Ederson exit. Grealish may have rediscovered his best form at Everton, but his return to the Etihad remains uncertain. Savinho could become the star Tottenham are so desperate for, but he could also be the face of a missed opportunity for City. And in parallel, the academy youngsters wait eagerly for the chance to turn Foden's dream into reality. What is clear is that City continues to be a club living under the spotlight. Every step is analyzed. Every mistake becomes a headline. Every victory is measured by the manner in which it was achieved. Guardiola and his players know there is no room for stagnation. Modern football demands constant renewal, and City, more than anyone else, embodies that dynamic. What remains to be seen is whether the choices made now will secure not only immediate trophies, but also a future capable of keeping alive the flame of one of the most ambitious projects in the history of football. Manchester City know that, even surrounded by triumphs, football offers no eternal guarantees. Guardiola often repeats that the biggest mistake of a successful team is to believe that past glory will be enough to sustain the future. That is why each season, the board and the coaching staff find themselves obliged to make decisions that often seem contradictory. Letting go of beloved players, investing fortunes in reinforcements, or betting on youngsters who have not yet proved everything they can deliver. This constant need to reinvent itself is what makes City both fascinating and unpredictable. Donnarumma, in this context, emerges as more than just a goalkeeper. He represents the symbol of a city that refuses to live in the shadow of mistakes, that seeks to shield itself against failures such as Trafford's, without, however, giving up on the young man's potential. The Italian carries with him the experience of having been crowned European champion with his national team, of enduring immense pressure since adolescence, of dealing with idolization, and also with criticism. His possible arrival could mean not only technical reinforcement, but also psychological strength. For Guardiola, having someone with this profile between the posts may restore the calm required for the team to build from the back without hesitation. At the same time, though, Ederson's departure would represent a harsh blow to the hearts of supporters, who see in the Brazilian not only memorable saves, but also the embodiment of the modern game with his feet. On the other side, Savinho is the perfect metaphor for the dilemma between present and future. At 21, he already shows the maturity and talent needed to shine in any team in the world. His fast and daring style of play fits into any attacking system. Tottenham's proposal shows how much the market sees him as a valuable asset, and for the player, the promise of regular minutes is almost irresistible. After all, a place at the World Cup could depend on it. For City, the decision is delicate. Accept the $76 million and guarantee a historic record sale, or keep the talent at home, risking seeing him grow dissatisfied with the lack of protagonism. Guardiola has already proved capable of managing egos and patience, but how far does the margin go to hold on to a rising star? While these dilemmas occupy the negotiating tables, Grealish reignites the debate about identity. His time at City was marked by moments of brilliance and phases in which he seemed out of place in the tactical scheme. Now at Everton, he finds a new chance to reinvent himself. His assists against Brighton were more than mere statistics. They were a statement that he can still deliver the unexpected, the creative, that which defies the manual. City's fan base, divided, reflects this ambiguity. Some see him as wasted talent, others as an asset ready to be sold. The $50 million clause hovers in the air as a decision that will soon have to be taken. The doubt is whether that value will be seen as cheap or too expensive once weighed against what he can offer on the pitch. In the midst of all this, the academy youngsters await their chance. Foden, already established as a reference, now becomes the voice of a generation dreaming of reshaping City's face. The idea of seeing Lewis, Trafford, Bob, and O'Reilly playing together is exciting. It would represent a team that not only wins but also carries with it the soul of the club. For many supporters, this is the true next step. turning financial and sporting power into a project with even deeper roots. Guardiola, though demanding, knows he must prepare this ground. Lewis, by rejecting offers from European giants, showed that he believes in this path, and that gives fans hope that the future can indeed be built from within. The defeat to Tottenham in this sense can be seen as a warning. It is not merely a bad result, but a sign that adjustments must be made, that it is not enough to rely on the strength of the current squad. Modern football punishes stagnation, and City know this better than anyone. The pressure for reinforcements, such as Donnarumma, arises not out of whim, but from the necessity of adaptation. Tottenham's interest in Savinho is also a reminder that rivals are willing to invest heavily to challenge the sky blue hegemony. And Grealish's performance at Everton shows that even players considered second-tier can find space to be reborn in other environments. It is within this whirlwind that City's season is being drawn. Guardiola needs to balance present and future, manage egos and dreams, handle defeats, and reinforce the squad's confidence. The fans, for their part, watch everything closely, knowing that each decision could alter the course of the season and even of the decade. Would Donnarumma bring security? Does Grealish still have a place? Should Savinho be sold or protected at all costs? And the youngsters, will they really have the chance to form Foden's dream team? These are questions without definitive answers yet, but which make up the great riddle Manchester City must solve. What is certain is that City remain one of the most fascinating clubs in the world. Their ability to reinvent themselves, to generate intense debates, and to keep their supporters in a constant state of anticipation shows that we are in the presence of a team that does not live only off trophies, but also off stories. And right now, the stories in Manchester are as intriguing as the matches on the pitch. The future will be decided not only on the grass, but also in the meeting rooms, in the market choices, and in the heart of the fan base that, more than ever, wants to believe this project will remain unstoppable. And so, City supporter, we arrive at the point where everything connects. Donnarumma's possible arrival, the uncertainty over Ederson, Savinho's dilemma, Grealish's rebirth, and Foden's dream with a homegrown generation are pieces that show Manchester City are living through a phase of crucial decisions. The club that has already conquered everything continues in search of something greater still, keeping alive the flame of a project that never stops reinventing itself. But now, I want to hear from you. In your opinion, should Donnarumma really be Ederson's successor? Should Savinho be sold to Tottenham, or does he deserve his place at the Etihad? Can Grealish still shine under Guardiola, or is it time to say goodbye? And will we one day see City field 11 players all formed in their own academy? Leave your comment, share your view, because your participation is fundamental for this community that grows each day. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep following all the news, analysis, and behind the scenes of Manchester City, don't forget, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. That way, you won't miss any updates about the citizens and will always stay in the loop with what's happening at the most intriguing and challenging club in world football.